Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.
Hey everyone, I'm Yvette Lloyd. Welcome to Life Her Podcast. Today, I have an incredible honor to speak with a highly sought after speaker, trainer, and coach, Dr. Danny Brassell, also known as Jim Carrey with the Ph.D. With over 3,500 audiences worldwide and 18 books to his name, Dr. Danny is on a mission to bring joy back into education and workplace. He's also a co-founder of the world's top reading engagement program and expert at helping entrepreneurs and business owners grow their influence through the power of speaking. In today's episode, we are diving into how speaking can be the fastest way of growing your business, the secret to crafting a speech that is convert into practical tips, boost your confidence and impact on stage. If you've ever wanted to use your voice to inspire, lead, and attract more clients, this is the episode for you. Hi, Danny. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on, Yvette. More importantly, thanks for all you do to spread some joy in the world. We need a lot more of you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Joy is exactly what we need for sure. So, you say speaking is the fastest way to grow your business. Why is that? And can you share any success stories of people who leverage speaking to scale their business?
Well, it was either Shakespeare or Keanu Reeves who once said, all the world is a stage. And so it's very important to learn how to master your speaking. So I help individuals, entrepreneurs, and organizations leverage speaking on stages as a major client lead source that converts. It's the fastest way to grow your business. Whether you're speaking to a boardroom or to a ballroom or to a courtroom or to a classroom, I basically help leaders transform their personal experiences into powerful business stories that inspire action, drive growth, and create lasting impact. So I absolutely love what I do. Yes, I've worked with some pretty big speakers in different industries, from entertainment to athletics to the government. But most of the people that I work with, me and my co-founder, Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson, we basically work with entrepreneurs and business people and show them how to maximize their effectiveness from the stage.
Wow. So this is something I've never shared before, and I'm going to share with you. So, growing up, sometimes reading and speaking has been difficult for me. And with that being difficult, my mom, she didn't know how to read too well. So my mom was teaching me how to read, but when she taught me how to read, she taught me the way she knew how. So it affected me as I got older from me learning how to read, because I skip a lot of words when reading. And she taught me to skip words when I'm reading to a point where it's ones that she understood. So over the years, I didn't even notice until actually I started podcasting. I didn't know how much my speaking was like. I would either be tongue tied or certain words I couldn't pronounce. And I found ways to like skip certain things. And also, I don't know, I knew how to hide it with humor at the same time. So I always had difficulty with reading and stuff, but my comprehension was like so high and I always got good grades. I was in honors classes and everything, but no one ever knew that partially a part of me I could not read.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That's pretty incredible. It's amazing.
Yes, and I excelled in a lot of things. I got good grades, everything, but I just been going with the flow with so many things, and it's been working for me. However, I've always wanted to like expand it and make different things a lot better, because sometimes I feel like my vocabulary and certain things isn't enough for me to present on certain things. So I never really went on stages, and I really don't do too much on social media as far as me doing things on my own without having other people.
Well, it sounds like you're prepared to run for Congress, because I don't think they read most of the things that they.
You know, it's so crazy. A lot of people always told me like a lot of people have those difficulties.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up hating reading. My father was a librarian. I always hated the public library. It always smelled funny to me. The furniture was uncomfortable. There was always an elderly woman telling me to be quiet. And there was always some freaky homeless guy by the bookshelf, thought he was a vampire. I always hated it. And it wasn't until I started teaching in the inner city in South Central Los Angeles in Compton, where I saw a lot of my students didn't have a lot of the advantages I had growing up. I mean, I was very, very blessed to that. I mean, both of my parents were in the home. We were poor, but we always had food on the table. And my parents always read in front of us kids, to us kids, and we had plenty of access to reading materials. And so it really became a passion of mine to get kids really pumped up about reading, because I find schools do an adequate job of teaching kids how to read. But the question I always ask people is, well, what good is it teaching a kid how to read if they never want to read? I teach kids why to read, because I've never had to tell a kid, go turn on the TV. I have never had to tell a kid, go play a video game. And I never want to have to tell a kid, go read. I want them to choose to do it because they love it. And there's simple strategies I share with parents and teachers alike to get kids pumped up about reading.
Wow. So what do you think about I was seeing something, I can't remember the percentage rate, but I was seeing how low the percentage is as far as, well, not, I wouldn't even say low, how high the percentage is that a lot of children right now that don't know how to read and they struggle with it, and it turns them into having behavioral issues.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust a lot of those studies. I mean, I was with a fourth grader and his teacher told me, oh, he doesn't know how to read. And I'm like, well, I was with him for an hour and the kid must have sent 20 text messages. He was surfing the web. He's highly literate. His teacher was just using a definition from 75 years ago. There's different types of reading. And so, I always point this out, how school kind of cracks me up. When was the last time at work somebody said, I need you to read this novel by tomorrow? But that's what we're asking kids to do in school. Whereas I know plenty of kids, they might not be interested in reading a novel, but they can design their own website and create all kinds of social media posts. And so I don't know if I ever trust those. Plus, I always hear that, they'll say, oh, America's ranked 27th in the world in reading. We're so far behind China and India and Japan. Let me make this very clear to people out there. America does something that China, Japan, and India do not do. We educate all kids, including the special needs kids, the English language learners, the poor kids. I promise you, most countries are not testing that part of their population. So we're not comparing apples to apples. Can we improve? Always. And I completely want us to set the bar high, but I'm always questioning a lot of these statistics that I see.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. So back to like being a individual in entrepreneurship, and they want to, expand their business and be on stages and speak more. How can someone who never spoken on stages before use speaking as a client lead source?
Yeah, so Coach Jimmy Hazen Nelson and I created a company called the Well-Crafted Story Workshop, where in just a couple of days, we show you how to create your perfect, what we call well-crafted story. Many years ago, I was a journalist, and I followed a politician around, and he would give the same speech 20 times a day to introduce himself to new audiences. He called it a stump speech. In superhero movies, you would call this the hero's origin story. Simon Sinek in his book Start With Why would probably call this your visionary statement. Jimmy and I called a well-crafted story. You can call it peanut butter and jelly. What this is a speech that you're going to deliver again and again to introduce yourself to new people. It's a speech that's appropriate for a lot of people, a few people, or just one-on-one. And like I said, it can be used for large groups or small groups, medium-sized groups. It can be used for a paid offer or an unpaid offer. And so Coach Jimmy and I, we have an approach, we call it our 5 C's approach. And the most important thing anybody has to start with before they create any kind of speech is they need the first C, which is clarity. And there are 2 questions which all entrepreneurs have to ask themselves before they create any kind of presentation. The first question is, who is your audience? And the second question is, what is the problem that you solve? So I work with people every day where I ask them a simple question: who is your audience? And they'll say, my audience are men ages 30 to 55, actually also women, sometimes corporate, but sometimes small business. I'm like, well, you just gave me about 5 different groups of people there. You have to get really clear on who it is that you actually serve. And then I'll ask them, well, what's the problem that you solve? And they say, well, I help them with coaching with their mindset. And I'm like, well, can we get more specific than that? Because the more specific we get, the better we're going to form that clarity, so that when you're introducing yourselves to new audiences, people are like, oh, I need to work with Yvette because she works with specifically nurses in New York City who didn't learn how to read very well when they were growing up. I mean, you get very specific. It's really important to get specific. You can always broaden it, but I see many people that say, well, I work with everybody. I'm like, well, if your audience is everybody, your audience is nobody, because nobody understands what you're doing. And so clarity is absolutely the very first starting point for any good presentation.
Wow. And sometimes people do get stuck in that and thinking that everyone that they reach is everyone they supposed to. So that is so true. That is extremely true. So what are the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make when trying to grow their business through speaking?
So we were working with a financial advisor named Richard. And so Richard, he began his speech where he said, I've been in the industry for 30 years. I've made my clients over $1 billion. I've worked with this famous person and this famous person. I said, Richard, stop. What are the 3 most important elements of real estate? And he said, what? I'm like, location, location, location. It's all right for you to brag, but you're doing it the wrong part of your presentation. The opening of your presentation, what Jimmy and I call the second C, which is to connect with your audience. Here's the most important strategy I share with people. Stop talking about your successes. Talk about your failures, because not everybody in your audience has succeeded, but they've all failed. And the more you talk about your own failures and expose your own vulnerabilities, they're going to love you a lot more for that. So now what Richard does is he begins his presentation by talking about the very first client he booked 30 years ago, which was basically a comedy of errors where he made this mistake and this mistake. And it's unbelievable that the client actually signed with him. And so Richard, this was interesting. About a week later, he was telling me, so he holds these seminars like twice a week for about 15 couples at a steakhouse where he's pitching them on why they should invest their money with him. And he said he noticed that most of the time, the husband usually has his arms crossed during the presentation, like, what are you trying to sell me? Well, now that he's changed his opening to all of the mistakes he made, that same guy is now patting his lap and laughing hard because he's seeing all the mistakes that Richard made. And Richard said that he normally would get about 6 of the 15 couples to book an appointment to talk about investing with him. Now that he's changed the speech, he's getting twice that. 12 of the 15 are booking. And that's really the only way that Coach Jimmy and I ever measure the success of a presentation. People can say, oh, I got all these people were clapping and they told me what a great speaker I am. I'm like, well, that's great, but what's that accomplished? The only way I measure success is, are people willing to take the next step with you? Now, that can be an unpaid offer, like book a free phone call or sign up for my newsletter, which you should never have a newsletter, by the way. Or it could be a paid offer, like buy my product or invest in my coaching program. And what Jimmy and I are always looking at is what can we do to increase that number? We were actually at a seminar in Dallas last week with a lot of high net worth individuals that were being pitched all kinds of different investment opportunities. And all that Jimmy and I did was sit there and take notes on every single speaker to see if they wanted feedback on how they could increase the number of sales they were making. Some people, they take it as criticism and they don't want to listen to it, which is fine. That's their prerogative. Some people want to get better. They take it as feedback. And those are the people that are making a lot more money and making a greater impact on society. So probably the single biggest mistake I see most people is they're not connecting with their audience because they're bragging. The second biggest mistake that I see most people make is they have multiple offers. You'll even see it on podcasts. This is my fourth podcast today, and one of the podcast hosts ended his podcast. He said, "Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe and give us a 5-star review and write a nice thing for us." You just told your audience to do 3 things. They're going to do nothing. You can only give them one thing. Choices confuse and cause you to lose. If there's one mistake I see people make in presentations, like, oh, you can either text me or you can go to my website. You just gave people 2 options. You're going to lower your rate of return. One single, there is so much research and everything I do. I always call Jimmy and me the professor and the poet, because I come from an education background where research is very important to me. Everything I'm doing, there's a purpose, there's research to support it. If you want an opinion, ask your Uncle Frank. If you want research support, you talk to me. Jimmy, his background was Broadway, so I call us the professor and the poet because I'm the research-based guy, and he's the drama guy that's all about stage acting, and that's why we work really well together. But that's a major mistake that I see a lot of people make, is making multiple offers in their presentations.
You know, it's so crazy that you said that, because I never knew that theory. However, I used to say if I always said more, I felt like I was begging. So I always, so I always used to try to keep it to a minimum, because I didn't want to sound like I was doing too much, because it's already bad enough if you post a flyer and you have so much information on it. People already don't read. So then you expect them to read all of this stuff, and then I saw how people get upset when they comment and ask them certain questions, and they get upset when they say this on the flyer. People need to read more, but you have given them so much to read, and they don't feel like doing all of that. They just want you to get straight to the point.
That's right. All of us want somebody else to make the decision for us. We don't want it. It's confusing your brain when you have more than one option.
Yes, it's definitely confusing. So, how can a business owner effectively pitch their service or product during a speech without sounding too salesy?
Yeah, so this is a great question that you're asking, Yvette. I mean, people always worry about sounding too salesy, and you have to adjust the way you're thinking about this. Is change that mindset from being salesy to being of service. You know, I want you to picture your audience and picture them that they're all dying and you have the antidote. And if they don't get your antidote, they are going to die. If you start thinking about it from that point of view, you're going to be much more successful. And plus, no matter what, I can't stand a lot of these presentations because they're swarming. They're like, oh, I have 10 ideas and I only shared 3 with you. And if you buy my course, I'll share the other 7 secrets to you. That's just lame. Just serve the audience. Serve the audience. Give them everything you want. I'll give you all the 5 C's right now. It's clarity, it's connecting, content, call to action, and close. I mean, we can go through all of them, but you give away your best stuff. People are like, if I give away my best stuff, why would a person hire me? Here's my response. If you don't give away your best stuff, why would somebody hire you? You should show people that you're helpful. And so if you really if you don't want to sound salesy, just serve your audience. Make sure that even a person just gave you their time, which is very precious. Time can never be replaced. If a person gives me an hour of their time, I have a responsibility to serve them and help them in every way that I know possible. And so that would be, it's the Monty Python is what I call it. Monty Python people were pirating their old Monty Python TV show episodes so much it drove them crazy. So what they did is they put all of them available for free on YouTube. And guess what happened? Everybody thought they were crazy. That year, Monty Python sold more DVDs than anybody on the planet. It's very counterintuitive, but the more you just put it out there, the more I don't know what you call it. Some people call it karma. I just believe you do good and the world does good for you.
Yeah, that is true. So what strategies can someone use to get booked for more speaking engagements, even if they don't have a big platform?
Well, so I was working with a guy 3 years ago, Jason. And so I always tell people there's two ways you get better at speaking. The first way is you need to watch lots of speakers. I watch at least 10 speakers a day. I watch televangelists. I watch politicians. I watch comedians. I watch them in front of big groups, in front of small groups, in front of men, in front of women. Here, I'll give you a ninja strategy. I watch a lot of award shows because when a person wins the Academy Award, they only have 45 seconds to connect with their audience. Now, most people waste their time. They get up there, they're like, oh, I want to thank God. I want to thank the Academy. It's stupid. Nobody's paying attention. But every now and then, a person does a remarkable job. So a few years ago, there was a guy by the name of Joe Walker. He won the Academy Award for Best Film Editing. Hey, Yvette, this is Hollywood. The important people are in the audience, the actors. And you can see that nobody's paying attention. It's film editing. And Joe Walker gets on stage, and he's British, and he speaks very slowly and deliberately. He says, a lot of people don't know this, but when phrased properly, the term Academy Award nominee can be used as an insult. Well, now the camera's panning the audience, you see the actors kind of leaning in, like, what's he talking about? And he says, for example, yesterday, I got in an argument with my 17-year-old daughter, and she said, well, Academy Award nominee Joe Walker. All of a sudden, you see everybody laughing. He gets off stage. Denzel Washington wants to meet him. Brad Pitt wants to meet him. Sandra Bullock wants to meet him. Time magazine said it was one of the highlights of the Academy Awards. Took him 30 seconds. Took him 30 seconds to make that connection. That's incredible. And so the first way to get better at speaking is you watch lots of speakers. The second way, one of my mentors was a guy named Jim Rohn, and Jim used to say, you can't pay other people to do your push-ups. Translation, you got to do the work. So about 3 years ago, I was working with a 22-year-old named Jason, and Jason was driving me crazy. He was a Debbie Downer. He was just putting down every idea I had. I said, you got to get out there. Even the smallest towns in America have a Rotary Club, a Lions Club, an Optimist Club. You can speak at schools. You can speak at synagogues, at churches, at the Chamber of Commerce. And he was like, no, I have no audience. What was me? Drives me nuts. So I said, do you have a Facebook account? He said, yes. I'm like, we're getting on right now, Facebook Live. You're going to make your presentation. So that he gets on and he does his presentation, 1 hour talk. And one woman from Ontario, Canada, accidentally was watching, and he stunk. Well, I insisted he do it again the next day. So he did it again the next day. He had about 3 people this time, and he stunk. But he didn't stink as bad as the first day. Here's the thing. Jason has gone on Facebook Live every day for 3 years. Every single day. I've never seen a person with such consistency. Every single day, he has given the same presentation. He now has 6,000 people in his Facebook group. And from that audience, last year, he earned almost 7 figures. Congratulations, Jason. The reason I tell that story is he did something most people don't. It's the same thing why I admire you, Yvette. How many of your friends are saying, oh, I'm going to start a podcast someday? Quack, quack, quack. They talk the talk. They don't walk the walk. You did something. That's why I love you, Yvette. You're the one I'm going to work with. I can't stand people that don't do things. You need to do the work.
That is so true. And it's so crazy because that really happened. It really happens. But it's like people are like fearful of so many things, and they don't understand the other side of fear is success. And even when it comes to speaking, like some people wouldn't have known of what I told you earlier as far as me reading and stuff like that. A lot of people wouldn't know that because I hide it so well.
Yeah.
However, when my mom always taught me, if you're at fear with something, I mean, it's something on the other side for you. So it keeps me going. It keeps me feeling dominant and wanting more out of it. It's like a craving, you know? So I just keep going. So if a lot of people, if you look from my first podcast, you'd be like, oh my God. And then you look at now and you'd be like, whoa, like this is a totally different woman here. So it's just when it comes to speaking and or being on stages and different things like that, I know how to flow with it. I know I still need coaching for it. However, me knowing that and me still trying, it makes me feel better. And I think if a lot of people just keep going with it and not really think about it so much, because your mind can send you to the grave if you let it. So you just got to keep going and pushing for it, and you'll be able to grasp anyone possible for it. And if you just start, that who knows what's to come, you know?
Yeah, there's no scarier movie than the one playing inside your head. Like you have, all of us have the worst critic ever, and it's our inner critic. And so many people get held up by that. So again, I commend you for actually doing something. I mean, most people never do anything. And again, I love working with people that are scared to death of being on stage. I mean, you have to understand that audiences actually empathize with you. They don't want you to fail. It makes them uncomfortable if you're failing. They want you to succeed. So I was working with a woman the other day and she was completely nervous. And I said, well, why don't you start off by saying I'm completely nervous? And she's like, well, why would I do that? I'm like, now the audience is going to love you. They're going to start, hey, you can do it. You can do. People are actually pretty cool.
Man, being yourself is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like being yourself and putting everything out there, and you'll be surprised on people that you feel like that is already there already. They having the same problem too. You just don't know. You just got to say it.
Yeah. Barbara Streisand vomits before she goes on stage. Bill Russell, the Boston Celtic, vomited before every game. President Reagan vomited before every speech. You're in good company. People get nervous.
Definitely. So many people fear public speaking. What are the top tips for overcoming stage fright?
Well, so I always say this about, I give tips to waiters. I give strategies to the people I work with. And so the most useful strategy is I always look for at least one smiling face in my audience. And I just talk to that person as if we're having a one-to-one conversation. When people say, oh, I'm terrified, I always share the anecdote. I was speaking in India to a bunch of schools in 2018, and I got this one school all pumped up, and the kids were all coming up afterwards. All of a sudden, I see this little boy. He's got tears in his eyes. He's about 6 years old. And I notice he's missing his left arm. And he looks up at me. He's like, how can I succeed? And so I crouch down to his eye level. I'm like, you know what? When I was your age, I went to 18 different schools before I was 12 years old. You know, everybody used to call me stupid because I stuttered. And eventually I went to a school, and the teacher, she worked with me one-on-one, and she would sing things to me, and I found I could sing them back without my stutter, kind of like the movie The King's Speech. And eventually I lost my stutter and I became a swan. I looked at that little boy. I said, isn't it interesting that the little boy everybody used to make fun of because he couldn't speak right now gets paid ridiculous sums of money to travel the world to do what? And he gets this big grin on his face. He's like, speak. I'm like, don't let anybody ever tell you what you cannot do. Everything is possible. Your mind is the only thing restricting you. And I believe that. I totally believe that. When I'm working with, you know, a lot of times I have a background in stand-up comedy. And so people will work with me because they want to add humor to their presentation. So I was working with a gentleman from the Silicon Valley, an engineer, a couple of months ago. And engineers tend to be very introverted. They're not the most interesting people in the world. This gentleman was from India. He's like, Danny, please help me. I'm not interesting. I need to do this presentation. And so he has a very long and difficult name to pronounce. I'm not going to tell you his real name, but here's what we did. His presentation now, he starts with, he's like, hello, my name is Shabunakar Manaharaji. Gee, I sure hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's going to get a laugh. It's going to get people like, oh, this guy, because when you can make fun of yourself, everybody loves you. It's the easiest way to humor is always make fun of yourself. I don't like people that make fun of other people. I always like to point it at myself. And if you watch the best comedians, they're masterful at it. Kevin Hart is a short black guy. And so he makes a lot of jokes about being a short black guy. Jim Gaffigan's a big fat white guy. So he likes to make a lot of jokes about being a big fat white guy. There's genius to that. By taking a perceived weakness and turning it around, you've just made it your strength and nobody can use it against you. It's actually a really great strategy. So that's what I again, when people are nervous, I say turn the nerves into your strength, your super strength. Everybody's nervous. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld used to do a great routine on that. He said, statistics show that people's number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. So if you ever go to a funeral, more people would rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy. And he's right about that. People don't like speaking, but you're just a perfect example, Yvette, that with the reps, you've practiced on your podcast. Now look at how relaxed you are. I mean, this interview's flowing with no problem. It's because you've done it a lot. I guarantee the first time you did it, not so smooth.
No. No, absolutely not. It was horrible.
But that's it. Before a person is an expert, they're always an amateur. And a lot of people forget that. Is everybody started, before Patrick Mahomes became one of the greatest football players in history, he stunk like everybody else. He had to work his tail off. And that's what I love about athletes are better than most people about this. They understand when they have a deficiency, you hire a coach. I mean, look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, greatest golfer ever to live. He hired a putting coach. He has a driving coach. He has a mental coach. He needed to hire a relationship coach, but that's another story. But people that want to get better, they hire coaches. And it drives me nuts when I'm working with a person, they don't listen to me. I'm like, well, why are you paying me money not to listen to me? I mean, I take notes when somebody that's really good at something. I mean, I've had some really great mentors. They were very expensive. It was great. They were worth every penny. Usually all I need is one idea from a person, and I get my investment right back. If you give me two, I'm making a profit.
Wow. So what's one of the lessons you learned from speaking to over 3,500 audiences worldwide that has stuck with you the most?
I actually enjoy when things aren't going my way. There's always going to be something that happens. I was once giving a presentation to 900 Catholic school teachers in Wichita, Kansas, and a tornado hit, and we lost power. And so I asked the janitor for a flashlight, and I did the rest of the presentation in the dark. And I'm like, wow, I can do it in the dark. I can't tell you how many times I've had some kind of technology problem. So my PowerPoint wasn't working. And so the first time I basically said, oh, just so you know, in the PowerPoint, when there's a problem, I teach you songs. And after that presentation, I got more positive feedback. They're like, wow, he was so good at just dealing with it. And I'm like, man, maybe I should fake a technological problem because I'm getting such great feedback from people on that. And so you learn from those things. Actually, here's a better example. So when I was in India, I was just supposed to tour schools. And so I go into this one school and the principal opens up the door. There are 5,000 kids in an auditorium. There's 20 newspapers and 5 TV stations. And the principal says, and now for the next hour, Dr. Brassell is going to teach us the 3 secrets to reading better. Yvette, nobody has ever told me that I'm speaking at this event at all. I'm not there to speak. And I have no such speech. But I got 5,000 kids in an auditorium. I got newspapers and TV stations. And so I look at the kids. Fortunately, it's England. It's India. So I get to speak slower. So I look at the kids. I'm like, today, I am going to teach you the 3 secrets to reading better. Who wants to learn? The kids are going wild. And in my head, I'm like, what the heck are the 3 secrets to reading better? And using the same structure that Jimmy and I teach our clients, I came up with my 3 teaching points, how I was going to connect, how I was going to get the kids rallied for a call to action afterwards. Within 30 seconds, I came up with a speech in my head, which formed one of my companies that I have today. I'm telling you, the proof is in the pudding. I'm telling you, it's a formula, and this works. The best people, and I just read John Cleese from Monty Python. I just read his autobiography, and I just loved one of the things he said when he was starting out. He wasn't very good at writing jokes, and so he just stole. He's like, I'll just steal other people's and figure out the pattern. I'm like, there's actually a lot of, that makes a lot of sense. You really need to learn your fundamentals, and then you can do your own thing. But the best, they pretty much always mimic somebody. You know, you look at, like, one of my favorite comedians was Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, you know, was a real student of Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was a student of Lenny Bruce. I mean, these people are studying each other. It's the same with presidents. President Clinton really loved watching President Reagan speak. President Reagan loved President Roosevelt. I mean, that's what the best do. They're always, you know, look at athletics. Kobe Bryant studied Michael Jordan. What are you doing? How can I copy you? And then he developed his own style, but that's what anybody does. I mean, if people ask me, how do I become a better podcaster? I'm like, watch a lot of podcasts, you know, watch what they're doing, copy it, figure out the structure, figure out what works. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Whatever works, there's a reason it works. I'm not that smart. It's the same thing with my offer. I'm always very simple with my offer. And the reason is because of In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out Burger sells one thing: cheeseburgers. Oh, and French fries. That's all you get. Cheeseburger or French. Same with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, you're not going to get a cheeseburger at Chick-fil-A. You get a chicken sandwich. They're smart. And there's always a line around the block because they know that that's where it's chicken sandwich. You know, they're not trying to give you a Chick-fil-A salad they're not. They're fine with it. And it's also another good lesson there. They figured out their niche. This is our niche. We don't have to be everything to everybody. We just have to be something to our group. And our group will be rabid fans then.
That is so true. That is extremely true. So tell me this: if you had to give a TED talk on a completely random, ridiculous topic that has nothing to do with speaking or reading, what would it be and why?
Well, I'd let that's the fun. Give me anything. I would enjoy just trying to figure out how to create. I would use the exact same structure I told you about. So I would figure out who's my audience, what's the problem I'm solving. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to connect with the audience. I'm going to figure out no more than 3 teaching points. I'm going to figure out how I can serve you during the talk. I'm going to have a very clear call to action, and at the very end, I'll have a close that's going to connect so that you remember me long after I left. And you know, I would really love doing that. I've done a couple of TED Talks. They're fun. What I love is TED Talk, a proper TED Talk should be no longer than 18 minutes because most Americans have a limited attention.
Yeah.
What were you talking about? Yeah, most Americans can't sit and listen for more than 18 minutes.
No, they can't. And believe it or not, that's why, like, on my podcast, I have listened and heard a lot of podcasts, and the way they drag it out to get to the point, it drives me insane.
Agreed.
So it made me like, okay, I'm about to get straight to the point and get to talking to these people. I am not about to waste my time. Introduction and get to the questions. And I have gotten so many compliments with so many people was saying how they love how I get straight to the point.
I love that. You get right to the meat. Not a lot of sizzle. Let's go straight for the meat. I love it.
Yes. And it's so crazy because my dad used to say, you can't keep dragging ass. You got to keep going.
Said only as a dad could say.
I know, right? So what are certain things that you are like excited about right now that you have going on, and what's next for you?
Well, my latest book just came out, so that's a lot of fun. I'm really having fun. Coach Jimmy and I, we've kind of changed our model. We used to have once a month, we'd have a seminar of about 12 people where we work with them for 2 days on their presentations. From that, we discovered a new niche. A lot of companies don't want to share their secrets, and so the companies just fly us out to their company so we can work specifically with their team and help them all on their presentations. It's a little bit easier than, I mean, some of our events we have, like financial advisors and real estate agents and health and fitness people and life coaches, and so I'm always fascinated by that. I love getting on podcasts like this. I always tell people podcasts are great. It's a great opportunity for you to practice. Most people need a lot more reps, and you're living proof of that. Is, again, the more you do it, the more confident you get at it, and so it's not scary anymore. There's a lot of things that are scary out there. This one shouldn't be one of them. What was it my grandpa used to say? He said, those who've never done talk, and those that never talk have done. I think that's what he said. Basically, the people that don't know anything are the ones that always give you a lot of advice. The people that have actually accomplished something, they're not going to give you the advice. He's right about that.
Dad has a point.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, please, how can anyone contact you and utilize your services that you have?
Well, as a thank you, Yvette, to you and your audience for having to bear with me, I wanted to give everybody a freebie because, again, it's all about giving. So if you go to freestoryguide.com, again, freestoryguide.com, I'm going to give everybody their own free blueprint of the exact 5C process that we take people through during our workshops that will help you craft your presentation. What this is your own blueprint to help guide you as you create your own well-crafted story. What it does for you is it takes out the guesswork and it shows you a proven system on how to get better results on stage. And what this means for you is the peace of mind that you don't have to go solicit all those clients. You have a guaranteed way to get people to want to do more business with you, again, whatever type of business that is. And that's at freestoryguide.com. And again, I just wanted to thank you, Yvette, for having me today. We were going through power outages and all
Yes.
things, and you stayed with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you too for being on my podcast show. And I really want to thank you for that.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Life Heard Podcast. Make sure you go on the YouTube channel and subscribe and listen on all major platforms. Bless.
Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.